From Las Vegas, Sandy Kastel and friends.
Now, let's bring on the host. Here is Sandy Kastel.
Good morning and welcome to Sandy Kastel and Friends Variety Show with Chef Michael. Our special guests today are Danny Vegas.
Yes, how are you doing today?
Oh my gosh, how are you?
You know, we have been traveling parallel to each other for such a long time.
I know.
And now today the roads are crossing and I'm on your show.
We are together. Again, actually we were on with you at Roxy Davis's.
Yes.
So, yes, we were.
Well, I think that was actually the first day that she allowed me to be her co-host.
It was?
I believe so.
Oh my
yes.
gosh. And then Michael and I were on. Chef
Yes, had a
Michael.
great time that day.
What are you doing, Chef Michael? Checking out your rings?
Yeah, the gold is coming through, the white gold.
The gold is coming through the white gold. Oh my gosh, we got to take that in and get it fixed,
I
don't
ain't
we?
going back to that joint. I wind up back in the joint. Forget about that. I'll knock that guy out.
But also, we've got a special guest, comedian Jan McGinnis, author of. She's got a book out.
Get out.
And she's going to be calling in.
No,
and
you're
talking to us.
kidding,
Oh,
not
yeah.
Jan.
Oh yeah.
You know who's in the audience today?
Who?
You know.
Who?
You know Diana Fox.
Well, Diana Fox is in the studio.
Yes, she's in the audience down there. I didn't know she was a ballerina.
And we've also got, of course, Ryan Silva here at the board and John Stiles on video. So, you know what, Michael, we were always talking about your special recipes, and I know you must have a very special recipe for us today.
I got a gang of recipes. You know, it's really amazing. Like I was saying, well, yesterday we had a great meeting. We just took two very powerful people on to be a part of our television show, which is really great. Two marketing gurus. These guys are very powerful people. And I said to them, you know, it's really a funny thing. I says, when you win a war, you have to have an army. And just to do it myself, to be honest, you can't. You have to, like people like Diana Fox, who makes Facebook what it is today. She does a phenomenal job. I don't even know how to turn the damn thing on. I'm from a different era. You know,
I know.
I'm from someplace else. You know what I mean? I remember when I was a kid, I went to... I was in the Cub Scouts, and it's amazing. I'm 62 years old. I was 10, so that's 52 years ago.
That's a long time ago.
And I remember, I promised to do my best to do my duty to God and to my country and to obey the laws of the pack. Ain't that amazing as a child of 10? How I remembered that. You remember that, John? Were you in the Cub Scouts too? That's John Stiles behind the camera. You know, and it was really amazing because we had that author here yesterday. What was his name, honey? The lieutenant?
Miguel Reese.
Miguel
yes,
Reese.
Major Miguel Reese.
What a wonderful
right.
time. So anyway, I came in and
Thank you, John.
Yeah, John was great. And tomorrow, and Monday's the big day because I'm doing the challenge. I'm doing the iceberg challenge. Iceberg, Goldberg, what's the difference? All you people are the same. So I said to Roxy, Roxy. I said to Danny Davis. Danny
I didn't
Vegas.
notice you were wearing a short
Vegas. It's all the same thing.
Danny Vegas. I said, so you're a comedian? And he goes like this to me. Danny goes, no, I'm not a comedian. I said, oh, God. I said, I got to do this again. I always look forward to having a comic with me so I can be quiet and enjoy myself and laugh and
Well,
have
Danny
some fun,
also does have a comedic flair, Michael, just like somebody
He's
else
funny,
we know
this guy.
here.
This guy's funny. Funny how? I like a clown? How do I make...
I seen that movie. I am not falling for that.
Okay, you know what's funny? I'm sitting over here. I know we're going to go over the recipe, but you know, anytime somebody picks up the phone and calls 731-1230.
Well, she happens to be our guest, Michael.
Well, I know, and
Yeah.
it's a very. I stop everything, and she's a comedian, right?
Yes, she is.
Good. I can't wait. Okay, it's all yours. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from Caesar's Palace Live,
Jan McGinnis. How are you,
Hi, Jan.
Hey, good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is.
How you doing, Jan?
Well, it's morning here.
Where you calling from, Jan?
I'm calling from Los Angeles. This is
Oh,
Los-
Los Angeles,
Yeah,
Marin
it's not
County,
that,
where
it's
all
not
the
that
rich
far
people
away.
live.
Yeah, it's not that far away.
I know. I could almost get in the studio, but not really.
Wow.
Yeah. So how's the weather out there, Jan?
Beautiful, beautiful, of course.
Yeah.
It only rains in February, March.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
we're coming out, John. We're staying with you, me and Sandy. We're going to eat your
And Danny
food.
Vegas, we're gonna bring
Danny
him too,
Vegas.
yeah.
I'm bringing Diana Fox and her whole crew. John Stiles and his camera, and I guess a partridge in a pear tree.
So Jan,
I could use a chef.
you've been a comedian for how many years?
Oh, gosh, I'm going into my full-time 19th year, but I did it a couple years while I had my day job. So I'm full-time, that's full-time without being a waitress or anything. It's all making money off of comedy.
That's good. And you wrote a book. You wrote a book about it.
I've got 2 books. My second one just came out called Convention Comedian, Stories and Wisdom from 2 Decades of Chicken Dinners and Comedy Clubs.
Now, see, you're my kind of girl. Chicken dinners.
That happens to me.
Let me ask you a question, Jen. When you say chicken dinners, is your comedy from the Borscht Belt?
No, but I do a lot of corporate stuff, and then we get a lot of chicken dinners with those corporate things.
No kidding. Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And today, it's nice to have people that are comedians. Like, you know me, I'm like from the old school. I'm like 2 guineas walked into a bar. See, that's the kind of stuff that I say. Sandy says I can't say Jew anymore, so I'll tease my own people.
Great.
I'll tease my own people.
I like that. That's what my jokes are set up. Punch. I like that. Rodney Dangerfield. All those.
I'll tell you. I don't know
like this. Yeah, they're great.
Well, Jan, we've also got in here with us. We've got Danny Vegas, and he's been around for a long time too. And he puts together these huge mixers.
Huge
for everybody. Huge. Yeah, and he's part of all kinds of things that are going on in town. And
ma'am.
and he's got a comedic flair too. He doesn't, really, say I'm a comedian.
I don't make a living at it, that's for sure. So, but I can tell a few jokes after a couple martinis. Every guy's got to have an angle, right, Chef?
Yes.
When it comes to getting the ladies, you got to have an angle, and making them laugh is always a good thing. That's what I always say.
People like to laugh.
That's
right.
true, because we sing, Sandy and I, we perform at Sienna's Italian Trattoria Supper Club. And before Sandy got there was 2 beautiful blondes at the bar, and the band was playing. I walked up to the girl, and I said, would you like to dance? And she says, yeah. I says, go ahead. So anyway.
So, Jan, did you just start out being funny when you were a kid? Were you the class clown? I mean, how did it all grow?
I did. I always just wanted to do it. I only had one person ever in my life say I should be a comedian back in the, senior year in high school when they give up those superlatives like best dressed and most athletic and I'm better than you and all that. My friend Judy came up to me and said, well, sometimes you kind of say funny stuff to us, because I used to do like joke of the day at the lunch table and stuff like that. But I was never like the one that stood out, and made all the jokes and made the teacher crack up and all that. But anyway, Judy came up and said, I'm going to put you down as funniest. So I got 2 votes, me and Judy. Years later at my class reunion, she's the only one who came up when I said I was a comedian. She's the only one that was like, oh, that's perfect. Everybody else was like, really? Are you still living at home with your parents? Really? We never heard of you. But no, I wanted to do it, though. I always wanted to do it, and I finally, graduated from college, and I remember having dinner with my family at the restaurant that night thinking, now is not the time to tell them I want to be a comedian.
Yeah, right.
Spent a lot of money on this, so I went into marketing for 15 years, and then finally got the nerve up and went on at open mic and got hired and moved forward from there.
Well, marketing is good for anything, and I know Danny's good at marketing. Michael's amazing at marketing.
I'm the worst.
And if you're going to get a degree in something, no matter what you want to do in life, marketing is a great degree to get, right, Danny?
I wish I had a degree.
Yeah.
It took me 5 years to get my 2-year degree. So
no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, I got a bunch of degrees: anger management, drug rehabilitation. I got a gang of stuff on my wall. Don't you find that funny, Diane?
So you got something on your show. You do something called Finding the Funny.
Yeah, I've got a couple of different. Now sometimes these corporate and association events want more than just comedy. They want a little bit of a message. So I got a couple of different keynotes. One is called Finding the Funny, and I do my comedy, but I also put in a few tips about humor and health, that sort of thing. And I got a couple other keynotes: Finding the Funny in Change, how to use humor to handle change; Finding the Funny in Communications, how to put humor in your business communications. That's a big important one, because a lot of salespeople could use. How do you make someone laugh? Then they remember you. Then they want to buy from you. Then they like you, right, you guys?
Well, yeah.
They go out with you and date you, and you might get the affection and the attention.
Take half of your stuff, yeah.
How about the romantic end of it? Do you do anything funny in the romantic end? Sandy's giving me a look. Do you give me any in the romantic end? Anything funny there?
As far as making fun of my dates?
No,
Not while they're sitting there in front of you, I
No,
hope.
because I said this before. My first wife, she was a lovely girl, and everybody has dogs, and I don't know why the white people keep to sleep with their dogs. If you know that, they got their dogs in bed. Me, I didn't put the dog in bed. I used to put the dog on the floor. And this is years ago. This is before I met Sandy. I was young and handsome with a head full of hair. Now I'm just an old bald-headed Jewish man. And I'm making passionate love to my wife, and we're kissing and hugging. And as I looked down, the dog yawned. And I said to the dog, "Excuse me for boring you." And my wife said, "Oh, that's okay, Mike. No problem."
Oh, he's funny. Oh, he's really
That's
funny.
good.
I tend to go with the wife jokes. I think if you've been married for 10 years, you can start telling.
But you're
some
not
wife
wearing a
jokes.
ring.
Oh, well, my wife doesn't wear a ring.
Okay.
Oh,
So
one of those marriages.
when she starts, yeah, it's so cool. When she puts on her ring, I'll put on mine. So it's been a 10-year battle of like who's going to put on the ring first.
Right.
But they do sit in a hutch together, right next to each other.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
So what are your wife jokes?
Well, the ones that I could say on internet and the ones I could say on the FCC are probably two different things. But no, I basically, my wife says being from another country, she's definitely a funny thing. So we always, it's always a great thing to talk about. I remember the day. And this is a true story, Sandy.
Okay.
This ain't so funny.
Okay.
I mean, the women think it's funny, but the guys look at it like, dude, I don't think all that's that funny. Basically, she's having the second baby. They're cutting her open C-section because that's where the first one came out.
Ow.
So, what do I know? But anyway, the doctor says, well, while I'm in there, do you want me to tie your tubes? You're 36 now. You want to shut the factory down.
Yeah.
And she looked up at me and she said, well, what if I meet someone I really love? And that's a true story. Sitting there in her blue cap, ready to be rolled in. She goes, well, what if I meet someone I really love? You see, the guys are not even laughing, but the women find it extremely funny.
I think that's funny. Funny how? Like a clown? I make you laugh?
Funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown. I amuse you.
Oh my gosh! Oh, Ryan,
Ryan,
you are
shut
sharp, Ryan. Well, listen, Jan, we've got a caller in. Let's see who that. Flurry.
Good morning. I got a good joke for you guys.
Everybody's with the jokes today. Okay, Flurry, how you
Go ahead,
doing?
Big
Go
F.
ahead.
Go do it, baby.
I write jokes for sale, but I'll give you this one free, okay?
Thank you,
Okay.
brother.
I've been married 34 years now, and I just recently realized that my wife has Indian in her background. You know how I could tell?
How could you tell?
Every time I say pal, she says wow.
Oh, that was good. That was good. I like that one.
Oh.
That was good. That's
thank you, Flurry.
Thank you, Flurry.
Listen,
Look, I love you guys. Keep up the good work. I'm praying for you. Good things in our future. We're going to have a lot of fun, make a lot of money, okay?
Okay, great.
lot of
Thanks a
money.
lot, Flurry. You have a great day. If you're just tuning in now, you're listening to Sandy Kastel and Friends Variety Show with Chef Michael, and our guests today are Danny Vegas and comedian Jan McGinnis.
Yeah, Jan. Swing it, baby.
So we'll be right back after a message from our sponsors. Don't go away.
Call up 731-1230. Come on, baby. Come on, Carl. Stop counting your money.
Hi, and welcome back to Sandy Kastel and Friends Variety Show with Chef Michael.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Our guest today is Danny Vegas, and of course we've got also comedian Jan McGinnis. And and Jan, tell us a little bit about how you got involved writing your book, this last one.
Yeah, the convention.
About the conventions, yeah.
I have all these stories and things I learned from them. Everything from bombing in front of millions of people to just drunks and.
You've never
jerks.
bombed in front of millions of people, have you?
Well, any comic that says they've never bombed is lying.
Well, that's why Jerry Seinfeld goes down to Florida when he wants to work on his new material. I'm serious. He has a favorite place that he goes down there, and that's where he works out for a whole month. He takes all of his new material, works it out, sees what works and what doesn't, and then he takes it to the world.
People move out to L.A. and they think, I'm going to become a comedian. No, don't go to L.A. or New York and do your new stuff. You're beginning. You're going to bomb, and everyone in the city is going to see you, and you're not going to get anywhere. Go to Florida, go to Oklahoma, go out, and bomb in clubs that no one will ever remember your name.
Yeah.
And then get good and then move.
You know,
so
Jen,
I had all these.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Go
I had
ahead.
all these stories about that I wanted to put together, and things I learned from them. That's the whole wisdom part, because I really, you got to learn from the mistakes and just the weird stuff. I mean, the chapters of things like drunks I've known, jerks I've known, all sorts of weird stuff.
So who was your most favorite mentor that you had as a comedian growing up?
Well, like I said, I like Rodney Dangerfield. I like the styles of Rodney Dangerfield, Joan Rivers, Jay Leno. The set-up punch style as opposed to the storytelling or talk about your day style, which is kind of popular with some people. I just like the set-up punch. I do 3 or 4 jokes a minute, and if you don't like that, you like this. If you don't like that, you like this. And move on.
In the 50 years that I've been in show business, 50.
Yeah.
I was in show business at the age of 10, 12 years old. I went pro at 10, believe it or not. I was a prodigy drummer, and I traveled all over the world. I was one of them kids that just picked up a set of drumsticks and played with top people. I was with Charlie Pride at the age of 10 years old.
Really?
True story.
Cool.
Anyway,
I'm a drummer.
And I always had a comedic
She's a
flair.
drummer, too.
You're a drummer?
Yeah.
If you get a chance, go on YouTube and just put in Mike Leonetti Riviera. You'll see me, the show that I, drum-wise, with the show I did in 1990. It was 22 years ago at the Riviera Hotel. You'll see the drumming ability. Anyway, I was doing a show in Vegas, and I had a guy, I don't want to mention his name because, in fact, I seen him not too long ago with his grandkids. And I was performing for Lieutenant Governor Lonnie Hammergren at the time. And we did a sit-down dinner. There was 350 people in the audience. And I said, Louis, do me a favor. These people are not coming here to see us. They're coming. I'm not going to mention his last name. I says, they're coming to see the show. They didn't buy the show. It was more for him. Watch your language. Watch what you say. I'm telling you, Lou, listen to me. And he says, Mike, I give you my word. Talk about bombing.
Oh, no.
The place is packed. 16-piece orchestra. I come out with Ladies a Tramp. Knocked the audience upside down and said, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the funniest guy in Las Vegas. Hold on to your seatbelts. Louis, blah, 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 blah. He comes out. Audience is wild. You got governors in there, judges, lawyers, families, no kids, but moms and dads that were there are people. And he comes out, and this is exactly what he said. 2 effing Jews were in a bar. Right on. You heard dead silence. The band stopped. The people dropped their forks. I said, dear God in heaven, help me, because I'm going to kill this guy. I walked on the stage within 30 seconds. I said, ladies and gentlemen, Louis Cordone. Thanks, Lou. Stage right. And I stood there in the awe of what he'd done. And I felt you could have looked at the audience, and from that point on, there was absolutely no saving the show.
Oh, yeah. No,
right down to the tubes, and I'll tell you the truth, and this was almost 30 years ago. I just talked to him a month and a half ago when I seen him. From that day, I didn't see him all them years, and I said to him, Lou, please, don't be careful with your language. Today's different, but I always respect a comedian that's funny when they say jokes. A lot of the young comedians today don't tell jokes. They tell sitcoms. And I feel very seriously, if you have to use a 4-letter word to be something funny, I don't think it's funny. That's just my opinion.
Well, it's harder to write without that, but also, and I always tell comics, because I do write clean and I work clean, but you got to be true to yourself. If you cuss a lot, find a venue for you. You're not going to be doing the corporate stuff.
That's
you're not
right.
going to be doing the big events, but you got to but be yourself. Speak the way you speak. So you got to find your own venue. But boy, I work a lot more and consistently. They've never had a big issue with, we had the recessions and stuff. I've always had great years because I've worked clean and I've always been booked.
And I respect you for that, because the great comics, Mort Sahl is phenomenal. Even Robin Williams in the beginning. Don Rickles never was vulgar. Never. And Don was the best. He was the most wittiest, you could ever.
But a lot of people didn't like Don either. I mean, everybody has their own taste. And what you said, Jen, is very important. Now, what about the club? And I don't know what it's called, and I can't remember what it's called. But I know that all the big comedians, there was this thing that if they wanted to be part of this club, they had to do like blue humor. But it was a certain kind of thing. It wasn't like for everything that they did, but they actually, do you know what I'm talking about?
I've had clubs that won't book me because I'm too clean, and I've also had.
But I mean, there's actually a club. You don't know what that is, then. You don't know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't.
Yeah, they
It's
talked
called the Blue Man Club.
Yeah. No, they talked about it. We're all these different comedians in order to be, and they would, even if it wasn't part of their regular routine, they had to go, and it was like to be in this. Maybe it's like private club.
There's a joke called the Aristocrats.
What's that?
Aristocrats?
It's that joke, Aristocrat. Yeah, that joke.
Is that?
Yeah.
Well, Pat Cooper is to me was being Italian. His humor floored me. I watched him on YouTube, but you could actually watch him on YouTube. You could actually go on YouTube, pull up Pat Cooper when he does the Friars roast.
Right.
And I never seen Pat's blue humor, but everything Pat said was a certain, vulgar. And to me, this is just my personal opinion because I had him he was in my magazine. I had a Met called Las Vegas Image. We interviewed him years ago.
That plug is going to cost you $200.
That's quite all right. Just deducted from the $50 billion that it cost me for this radio station. So what happened was that watching him kind of threw me because he was funny with the Italian people. You had to really be Italian to appreciate because he's really he was witty and great and funny and he was good, just like many of the Jewish comedians that were out there years ago that were phenomenal.
Yeah, I worked with people. I worked with a guy one time on a New Year's Eve show, and the client said, "You got to keep it clean." The guy, he couldn't. I mean, I went up and had a great show. He couldn't follow me because afterwards he said, the other comic, he said, the problem is, the F word is my punchline, and I have to take it out of every joke, and there's no joke.
yeah, that's not good,
man.
Danny.
Yes, ma'am.
You've been in town how long?
11 years or so.
Just 11 years?
Yep.
Where were you before then?
San Diego. I was Danny Diego.
Danny Diego?
No, it's
Danny Diego. What'd you say?
That was a joke.
Wait a minute. Did you say Danny Diego?
No, Danny Diego. I was from San Diego.
You just said Danny Diego. Did you hear me say that? All right, there's going to be a bunch of Italians outside.
It's these fake teeth. They're hard to say stuff sometimes. So you know.
Well, do you find that living in different communities is different when you're talking with people, when you're meeting people, and you're out? Because you're out there
a lot.
Meeting people and bringing people together,
right.
or you're involved in a lot of these different events. So, do you find that and here in Las Vegas, we
right.
get people from around the world?
Yeah. Well, the one thing, as we all know, Las Vegas is such a transient town.
Right,
I don't think
right.
half the people know what the color of the state flag is. Okay, they're here for a job. Their family's really not here, so it's a little bit different. You don't really have people who are totally vested for decades and their families
That's
here.
True, like
San
Diego.
Yeah, like
or
San
something.
Diego.
Yeah, right.
Grandma in San Diego lives in Claremont Mesa, and she's been there since the 50s. Okay,
right.
that doesn't happen here very much. So it is a different.
They tear down hotels if they're older than 10 years.
Just so you know, Danny, the state flag, the color is red, white, and green.
I'm glad, Chef, that you made sure
that's
we all knew that.
That's on his house.
Oh, okay.
People are gambling away their houses so fast. Is that it?
Pardon me?
Yeah, they're gambling away their houses so fast, she said.
Yeah, well, we did go through kind of a tough time, didn't we?
Yeah, we sure did. Yeah.
That's for sure. Yep, so...
Oh, nobody's got nothing to say. Now you want me to jump in now?
Oh, well,
No.
that's why you get paid the big bucks.
Now, that's true, buddy. That's true.
That's true.
Now, Jan, you do a lot of writing, too.
I do. I don't do as much for other people besides I used to do a ton of freelance. I mean, I've sold stuff to everything from the Tonight Show monologue for Jay Leno as well as guests on the Jerry Springer show.
That's great. Now, writing for
that's a proud moment for my family.
But writing for somebody else now, you have to figure out what their niche is, right? Yeah. And write from their point of view.
Yeah. I did a lot of writing for radio for Prep Service, where I did a lot of topical jokes. Uh-huh. So I did about 15 topical jokes a day for radio stations around the country. The DJ comes in at like 4 a.m. and needs stories and top 10 lists and that sort of thing. So we did a lot of that. But yeah, you have to kind of get inside the head. The topical stuff was pretty easy, but when like the guest on the Jerry Springer, you just kind of get inside their head and kind of figure out where they're coming from.
You write it for the guests on the Jerry Springer?
Yeah, I wrote some jokes for guests.
Did you script the fights?
That was scripted?
Profile guests. I can't tell you who it was.
Oh, okay.
But I've sold stuff to that.
I thought it was all fighting in white trash and stuff like that.
No. Sometimes they have debates. It was like a debate. They were having a.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And they're doing a debate, and
right.
So I wrote stuff for that, and I wrote. I've written. You name it. I write for freelance a little bit for a syndicated cartoon strip, and gosh, you name it. I've probably written something for it. So
did you ever write?
fun.
Did you ever write as part of a team, like on a comedy show? Because I understand when you write, when you're one of the teams for a show, that a lot of times they say when you're writing a joke, they would actually say the jokes back and forth, like because there's something about when you write it down, it may not come out the same, so you actually have to say it out loud to hear how it really falls.
Well, that's with any joke, but I have never written with a team for a show, but I have had writing partners in the past. Very, informal. I mean, a couple of buddies I get together with. My friend Peter now is he's written. He's been on staff with a lot of the late night shows, and he and I get together. We're getting together about once a week or so.
That's great.
And you throw out these ideas and you kind of bounce it off each other, and you kind of the wording is. You're right. The wording is really crucial, and you get on stage and you throw these jokes out, and sometimes you just have to change a word, and it rocks.
Makes a huge difference.
But you got to find that word, and you different little rules you got to pay attention. Not rules, but things to pay attention to. For me, when I write a joke out on paper, I don't want it to be any longer than 3 lines. Not sentences, but lines.
3 lines.
I just think that's sort of the cadence I work with.
Okay.
But there's all sorts of little tips and tricks. But you're right. A lot of times you come up with these jokes, you think, this is going to rock, this is hilarious, and nothing. And then you get on stage, you'll say, just throw out a line, and it just kills. And you're like, oh, I think that's a joke.
Well, that's great. Listen, Jan, we're going to come right back. We've got, if you're just tuning in now, you're listening to Sandy Kastel and Friends Variety Show with Chef Michael. Today's guests are Danny Vegas and also comedian Jan McGinnis. And we'll be right back after messages from our sponsors. Variety Show with Chef Michael.
That was swinging, man, coming back.
What was that?
When I was singing Ladies of Tramp at the, what's the name of it? Ron DeCars. Now we name it Ron DeCars.
That's from Ron DeCars?
Yeah, and that was Steve Ponkard on the horn.
Oh, great. Okay.
We say we have on her last name again. I'm going to make sure I correctly.
Jan McGinnis?
Jan McGinnis, yeah.
And it's McInnis.
Oh, okay.
I hope I got
had
that
it wrong.
It sounds like the beer, but it's not.
Jan, years ago, you had a lot of great comedians that started, but someone died to open up the door for someone else. I'm going to give you a couple names. Robin Williams, who he really flavored, was Jonathan Winters.
Yeah.
Yes, he loved Jonathan Winters, and he leaned to him. Before Joan Rivers got a break, you know who the person that was the best was Toady Fields. Toady Fields and Joan Rivers were the exact same type of comedian, that same line. Okay?
You're right.
Now, Don Rickles was great, but you know who was just like Don Rickles? And when he died, Don Rickles at the door, that was Jackie Leonard. Jackie Leonard. He said, hey, there's a bunch of hockey pucks over here. If you look at on YouTube and watch him, he did the same act, insulting everybody.
Who's that? Don?
No, Jackie Leonard.
Jackie
Leonard.
I know him.
And Jackie Mason was another phenomenal Jewish comedian.
Yep.
And Tom Dreesen, who was hilarious, went with Sinatra, and he was funny also as well. So that's just a little trivia, because what happened was, I think if Toady Fields was living and Jackie Leonard was living, I don't believe Joan Rivers and Don Rickles would have been as big as they were, because once those people died, there was nobody else like them.
Well, they carried on. They carried on where they left off. You're right.
They were the same act.
They had a similar style.
I have a quick question to our comedian.
But it also suited them. I'm sorry. But it also suited them too. Because obviously that's the thing. If it doesn't suit you, it's like me. If I can't sit here and tell beer drinking, guy jokes. Okay, you have to go by who you are and take from our own. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. We have to fit the image. Go ahead.
Well, I remember as a kid, one of the and that is the Dean Martin roast. Do you remember those?
They were fun.
Those are just so classic now, because all these comedians were young and they were in their prime. And who was the guy that was always drunk all the time? The Forrest guy, the guy from White. Well, Dean Martin was always drunk.
Foster Brooks.
Foster Brooks was always drunk.
Brooks,
and Ruth Buzzy and all these Rudy's just classic stuff, you know. And I just wondered if when you try to get material and you try to get inspired, like, you know, let me go back and look at some of these, you know, 40-year-old clips of the Dean Martin roast. To me, they're just classic. And I was a young kid at that. I was probably just about 10 years old.
Danny mentioned something on the break, or did you mention it before, about how the writing, actually, that you're writing jokes for people or writing material for people. And he was saying himself, like, you just kind of, you hear things and then you repeat them.
Right. Well, I don't get paid to be a comedian. I just try to pick up girls by being a comedian. So I could just use everyone else's stuff. I don't have to like come up with original stuff. I could just steal anybody's I want.
Well, Michael comes up with stuff off the top of his head, you know, but when it's off the top of his head, it still comes out of when he was a kid growing up in South Philly. And your mom, you said your mom was always, telling jokes and stuff.
99% of the jokes I say today, my mother, God bless her, she was 85 years old. My mother was really the person. Now, remember, I told you before, at the age of 10, I went pro. So my mother was in her 30s. She was a gorgeous built. She stopped traffic. She was one of those Italian women, powder blue eyes, black hair. She was just gorgeous. And at the age of 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, I'm performing in nightclubs. She would walk into place, and I would look at a guy, and I'd say, hey, pal, what are you looking at? That's my mother. The guy would say, what? That's my mother. My mother would say, will you get away? I'm trying to make some action. Get away, she would say to me. And my mother was absolutely the best. She was terrific. And she's 85 years old. But my mother, I say it, it's the truth. It's on my cookbook. My mother cannot cook. Michael, she was the worst cook in the world.
That's his work phone.
What do you got in your hand?
Can't turn
What's
that
that?
off.
A gun. Don't give me no crap.
What is that?
Hey, by the way,
Is that a phone?
Oh, hold it. She is. Yes, go ahead, sweetheart. What were you saying?
I was just say, speaking of drummers, I'm also a Hillary Clinton impersonator, and if you Google, I play the drums, so if you Google Hillary Clinton drumming, you come up with my YouTube video of me in my Hillary garb playing the drums. I was drumming up support.
Oh, drumming up support.
Right,
and
today it's nice to be. We did this show, which is by our maybe 90th show that we did it. And when we first came on, Sandy and I, the people listened. We had just like the convent of Our Lady of Aggravation. They always would put it on, and a few other. Today we're up to 90,000 listeners, and it's amazing because people get up in the morning at 9 o'clock in the morning. They turn this on. They say, "What the hell is Chef Michael going to talk about? What's he going to say?" And I got to tell you something. It's been so magnificent because what we try to do here is uplift people because there's a lot of BS that goes on in the world today, and we don't have to get politically into deep conversations, and we like to always feature people like yourself and many other people.
Sometimes we have some serious subjects on here, though, Jan. But the thing of it is you mentioned something earlier about uplifting people and finding humor, and the thing of it is in life things happen to us. We have tragedies. Not every day is a wonderful, great day. For some people, they might, something might happen in their life, and it's a matter of how we turn it around and look at it.
Right.
And we can sit around and we can wallow in whatever it is that, poor me, poor me, or we can, finding humor in things.
Well,
is really good,
Sandy, John Lindquist. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, dear. Go ahead.
I was going to just say, if you look at the most comedians on stage, what they're talking about really probably happened to them. We turn a lot of this into humor. Like I was watching a comic once, and he was talking about homelessness and all that, and I turned to the other comedian. I said, I bet he lived in his car. I bet he was. And he was. Because we found a way to make it funny, to look at our experience and pull the irony out of it and make it funny.
Right. We have a gentleman that's he works here at the station. He's the voice. They call him the Golden Voice, and we're not talking about Mel Torme. His name is John Lindquist, and John, very handsome guy, 6'5", and he has hair like a buffalo. And the guy combs his hair and is poofed up. And what happened is, and I said to him a couple of days ago, I said, John, let me ask you a question. I never see anybody do your hair like that. Because Don, he actually, if he goes down the street, it's like the old 50 doo-wop, but he instead of combing it in a ducktail, the top of his head, he has to bend down when he walks in the door. Well, his mother was a hairdresser, and he used to play with Aquanet cans when he was a kid. And he said to me, when I got old enough, and he's got like cases and cases of Aquanet, and what he does, he just sprays his hair, you know what I mean? And it's incredible.
He really should be a sponsor, do commercials.
For Aquanet?
Yes, for Aquanet. There you go.
I don't even know if she knows what Aquanet is.
I know what Aquanet. I got Aquanet.
Still around?
Yeah, it's still around.
I thought it hurt the ozone when you sprayed that stuff.
So listen, Jan, you've got a website. Tell us about your websites and what is on there, what we can find.
What's on there? It's me on there. The worklady.com.
And Hillary.
Nobody can spell McGinnis. They all spell like the beer. So I had to come up with something else. And I do a lot of work humor, so I just put the worklady.com as my website so people could find me. And it's got some clips. It's got a couple of my keynotes on there. It's got all sorts of people raving about what a great comedian I am.
And you even have one about your comedy writing. You have a comedy writing blog.
I do, comedywriterblog.com. And
writing. It says writing. It doesn't say writer.
Comedywritingblog.com.
I mean, not that I want to correct you about your own website, you know. It's just like me. I said staying fit and fabulous forever and at gmail.com. It's a long thing, but you know, I was like, do I say stay fit and fabulous forever, or staying? Yeah, exactly.
Well, we like to put a face with the voices. So what I'd like you to do, if you get a chance, go on YouTube.
We have a face.
Yes,
we have her face.
Yes, I know. But
you want her to have
us,
your face?
us.
Well, she's already seen your face.
No. We did. Sandy and I did a TV show. Go on YouTube and put
shopping at Smith's.
Shopping at Smith's, and it's a 45-minute television cooking show.
And you can watch him cook.
You can watch
That's fun.
You'll have a good time, and you'll see the face.
And I think if we did the cooking, him cooking, and you drumming, and then Danny, what do you want to do? You want to be jumping rope? Oh no, that was the other guy, James Thompson. He can jump the rope, holding the people on him.
You know what? I'm a married man, so I just do what I'm told. So you just tell me what you want to do, and I'll do it.
Well, that's great. So Danny.
Yes, ma'am.
What is it you're working on right now?
Well, basically, as you know, Danny Vegas Live is a platform. We give entrepreneurs the environment and the platform to market their business, create jobs, and create commerce. So we do that in a lot of different ways. But one of the biggest ways, of course, is we bring, it's like bringing a busload of Chinamen, and we just bring them into a bar, get them all in the same room, and magic happens when you put a lot of people who are in business and trying to get business and trying to earn business. You get them all in the same room, and believe me, it is rock star heaven. And that's one of the biggest things that we do. And what we got coming up is October 7th at Let's Talk About Hair. We have a big event about that. We always support Las Vegas Woman's Magazine. They have the huge launch parties. I mean, man, Chef, if we can't pull a number out of one of those events, we might as well quit, because there's just a ton of women there. So we support Las Vegas Woman's Magazine. And of course, my new friend, Roxy Davis.
Roxy Davis is sharp.
That's
She's
right.
beautiful.
She has her show on the VNAR every Friday at 4 o'clock. And I'm the co-host, and I love that gig because all I have to do is just show up and just start talking. I don't have to do this process stuff. Look, you got all these notes. I don't know.
You know that Roxy Davis, you know who her boyfriend is.
Gene Woods.
I've been told.
Gene Woods. So Gene was telling me, he said, look, Mike, he says, I'm going to propose. I'm going to lock this girl up, and I'm going to marry her. I says, you're going to get her, a nice ring.
We're not supposed to talk about this. It's supposed to be a secret.
So I was joking. I said, a 4 carat? And he looked at me and dead serious. He said, 4 carat. If I can't give her an 8 carat, we ain't getting married.
Wow. Well, he told me 12 carat.
Oh my gosh, this poor kid. He's got to get a bunch of carrots, that's for sure, and propose to this woman.
Well, he better get it done.
Well, I'm going to the wedding because me and Sandy bought a toaster yesterday at Walmart.
Yeah, it's a gold-plated
toaster. And I'm gonna, if she don't want it, I'll give it to Diana Fox.
So you started working with Roxy Davis.
Oh yes, I just fell backwards into that, and it's really starting to mesh. It's really starting to jive, and yes, her fiance, boyfriend, depends on what day it is, how she introduces him.
Well, that's the way relationships are.
That's the way it is. So, and we're working together with him, and I like him a lot. So I like the couple. I just, there's some people you can go out and have a beer with, and there's some people you just
can't.
And you know what? I can have a beer with her.
Oh yeah, and Gene Woods. He's got Gene Woods Racing out there, and he's a wonderful
nice
fellow.
Guy too.
And actually, we're going to put a banner out there. We got to get that done.
We got to get a banner, and it's going to be great. And Gene is great because I went out there and I said, I could drive those things. I went 3 laps. No exaggeration.
He was exhausted.
And I said, that's enough. I'm done.
I haven't done that yet. I need to go.
Oh, you haven't?
No, not yet.
Why don't you do one of the things that you do? One of the things where you bring all the guys together.
We plan on it. We plan on it.
Do something out at Gene Woods, and we'll come out there.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll all do it.
Yeah, Gene's a great guy.
And what's your website, Danny?
www.DannyVegasLive is the whole gig is right there. And, of course, I got so many Facebook pages I can't even keep track of them anymore.
Well, all you do is Google Danny Vegas.
Google Danny Vegas.
stuff all
and
over.
Right.
it'll be me and Danny Gaines, but Danny Gaines is still there. Great SEO,
I
but
know.
Danny Vegas, and you'll see my mug and all
That's
that.
great. Well, I want
cool.
everybody to know out in TV land and radio land that we will not be at the Tortalia's on Wednesday because they're remodeling. It will be Friday, right, Sandy?
Yes, this next week, but
Right.
that's going to be Sienna's Italian Authentic Trattoria, and instead of being there on Wednesday night, we're going to be on Friday because the place is going to be closed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Right.
It may have a soft opening on Thursday. However, we are going to be there for the grand opening
right.
Friday night. So you got to make reservations. You got to
Please
call
make
Sienna's
reservations.
to make reservations, because I got to tell you, they're going to have more seats around the bar, which is great, and then those tables back in the back, they'll be able to see a little bit more too, because they're narrowing down that big huge pole that's in the middle there. So
Right.
you got to call 702-360-3358 for reservations. That's 702-360-3358. And if you're just tuning in now, you're listening to Sandy Kastel and Friends Variety Show with Chef Michael, and we'll be right back with Danny Vegas and comedian Jan McGinnis. Vegas.
How
Hi,
you
Danny.
doing? Oh,
Hi, Jan.
I'm like a pumpkin boot camp right now. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, we always have such a good time here. And Jan, thank you for calling in today. I know that, you're pretty busy and you got your new book. And now, do you go out and do you promote it at different book signings and things like that?
Yeah, mostly I promote it at my shows and my events. I just did a big event in Jacksonville, Florida last weekend for the Speaking of Women's Health Conference. 1,000 women, and so, I had it available there. And so got it. I cart it around with me all over the country, and but you can also get it on Amazon.
Okay.
Convention Comedian.
And then, are you coming to Las Vegas anytime soon?
I love working Las Vegas because it's a 40-minute flight from Los Angeles.
I know.
If I could do all my work in Las Vegas, I tell you I would do it. I do have something in Las Vegas coming up in November, so for a corporate event, private event, but nothing else open to the public at the moment. Boy, I wish I did.
All right. Well, listen. So what else? What would you tell? I have an organization called WEMA, Women and Men in Music and Arts, and it's a nonprofit organization. And one of our main missions is to empower artists of all ages through education, mentoring, and scholarships. And every month we have a monthly luncheon, and we have entertainers there. We have great food. Chef Michael prepares the food. Last week we had truffles and bacon. They prepared food, and also Cafe di Cebu. They brought some food for us. And what we do is we raise money and we give scholarships to artists of all ages here in our community. And so one thing that's very important is being a mentor, and I'm sure you're mentoring a lot of students. Do you teach students also about how to do comedy?
I don't.
You haven't done that.
I do answer questions, and my first book is about writing humor. It's called Finding the Funny Fast.
Okay.
How to create quick humor. And if somebody contacts me...
Oh, I like that. I want that book. I want that book.
Yeah, okay.
All right, writing humor fast?
Yeah, Finding the Funny Fast.
Finding the Funny Fast. But you mentor other people, right? When you meet them, if they ask you questions about being a comedian?
I have done that before, yeah.
Yeah, so what is the number one most important thing that you would tell to a young comedian that's inspiring, that wants to get into this business?
I would say, I hate to sound like a shoe commercial, but just do it. You know what? So many people want to spend time in workshops and buying books, and that's all that. It's good to do some of that stuff, but this is one of the few professions you have to do it. You have to. You can't get the feel of the stage or the people or the lights or the sounds and everything unless you're up there doing it. And so many people want to just read about it. And then I had someone recently I was helping, and he said, "Well, I've got 30 minutes of material." I said, "You've never been on stage. You don't have 30 minutes of material." You don't
about 2 seconds, maybe.
Minutes. Right, comedians start with 3 and 5 minute sets at open mics because you have to build. You can't keep people's attention for 30 or 40 or 50 minutes right away.
So do you encourage them to do like the open mics and stuff like that?
Open mics do the open mics. Do some of the free events. There's lots of local chapters that are looking for speakers or lunch and entertainment or something. And they don't pay anything. fine, go do some of that stuff. But get up at open mics and get up a lot as much as you can,
right?
And take every opportunity, and that's going to get you better, just as much as reading books and or probably more than reading books and classes. Though you take some of that stuff too, and read what you can, but you can't just learn it from a book. It's not like science or something,
That's great. Well, it's like performing. You can sing in the shower, and in the shower you sound really good. You can sing, and because it's got all that that porcelain in there or whatever, and the marble, and it, the sound bounces off, and you sound like you have this huge voice. Right. And then you can sing in the car along with the radio. But it's totally different than getting up on stage and really singing in front of a live audience and with a live band. A lot of people, we have people come in with tracks that are already pre-recorded that Celine Dion sang to, and it's nice because you get the experience of singing with these great orchestrations. Yeah. But when you're live and you want to sing with a band, sometimes these kids get tripped up because they don't really understand how to sing with a live band. Go with the changes.
I have to say, because when I'm in the car and I'm singing along with the radio, I sound just like that guy from Journey.
That's
I'm just like and then you turn the volume down and you're like, oh, maybe I'm not as good as I think.
The guy driving up next to you in the car on the other side is saying, "Keep your day job."
Keep your day job.
I have to say, if you ever see me sing and take away my car keys, because I have had too much to drink, I don't sing.
It's held me back for 40 years that I can't sing.
Well, I got to thank you guys for joining us here today, and of course, Chef Michael for sharing that recipe. What recipe was that you shared?
I never got a chance to say it, but that's quite all right.
But you know what? If you can go to YouTube and you can see Shopping at Smith's, and you can see Chef Michael preparing 5 different dishes with, what is it? Salt?
Pepper.
Come on.
Parsley and garlic.
Salt, pepper. I was trying to get him to say, thank you, John. Salt, pepper, parsley, garlic, and it's actually granulated garlic.
Are we here Monday, Memorial Day?
Well, we are here. Yes, of course we are. Everybody else is taking the day off, but we will be here. And thank you so much to Jan McGinnis, the wonderful comedian.
Thank you for having me, you guys.
Author of these books. And you got to go to theworklady.com, check her out, and also check out her rendition of Hillary Clinton drumming. And Danny Vegas, always, we love him. And Danny Vegas Live.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been wanting to do something with you for a long time.
Oh, well, thank you. And, of course, Chef Michael, and we will see you again. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you again here Monday morning on KLAV, 12:30 a.m. on your dial.